Swear to God, he's in the gym doing squats in his Yeezy pods. He's with this for real. He could juke you out in the stripper heels. Pulling up on his 40, he's a thrill. What up, twin? Why you sitting still? 2-0 back to back, so I know it's real. Don't need Burrow. Don't panic, you're not 0-3 like Miami. JT coming, JT coming, JT, JT, JT coming, JT coming, JT coming, JT, JT, JT coming, JT coming, JT coming, JT, JT, JT coming. Welcome into the Showtime Fantasy Football Podcast. Today is Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. This is your host from sunny Dallas, Texas, Ty Stewart Langston. Welcome in my co-host from Rogers, Arkansas, Trayton Benz. How we doing, brother?
Pretty good. Fresh off a 58-0 victory in flag football. God, these guys could not even throw a forward pass. They were so bad. It was honestly a waste of our time, but that's just kind of how this league, we just kind of run that league, so it is what it is. Yeah, both Langston's 2-1, so feeling pretty good fantasy-wise.
Couldn't complete a forward pass. You were playing against Michael Penix? Yep. Speaking of Michael Penix, there were lots of intriguing fantasy matchups from week 3. I'm going to start off here reviewing what was a surprising fantasy output from Not Jesus. 161 put up from Max as he blows out Jerry by 50. Both of these teams came into this one at 0-2. Backs against the wall, needed a win, and boy, did Max ever get it. Amari Hampton finally had his rookie breakout game, 21 fantasy points, 70 yards, and touchdown against the Broncos. Also had pretty good passing work involvement, 6 catches for 59 receiving yards. Jordan Mason took advantage of Aaron Jones being out 116-2 at home against the Bengals. We kind of thought that was a smash matchup going in. He definitely proved that to be true. Puka Nacua just kind of continues to be one of the more consistent options in fantasy. 11, 112, 17 fantasy points. No Justin Fields, no problem. Garrett Wilson, 19 points. Nico Collins, 18, had a 50-yard bomb towards the end of the game. Busted coverage by the Jags. And then the $50 defense themselves, the Vikings DST here. Mr. Defense himself, Oracle, goes all in on the Vikings and skull 32 fantasy points from the Vikings D. Let's see. We had 4 sacks, a pick 6, a fumble 6. They completely shut down the bum goals without Burrow. I think they forced 3 fumbles total in the game. Stroud didn't even do good. He had 12 fantasy points, and Max still went off for 160 in this one. So, yeah, I felt like we were kind of sleeping on the Oracle coming into this one, but putting up 160 without quarterback production is pretty impressive. I think that's the highest score we've had so far this season.
Yeah, pretty easily.
Here in week 3 by the Oracle. And then for Jerry, this is kind of just more of the same for him. Ends up at 111, but don't even be fooled by that. That was helped out by a 30-burger in garbage time from David Montgomery. Monday Night Football. This one was well over by that point. Kamara, that offense just isn't going to get it done. He's not as involved in the receiving game anymore, and he's just kind of old and washed. Jefferson, they didn't really need to do anything, and he's been relying on Carson Wentz and J.J. McCarthy as his quarterback, so he's just not the same Jettis we're used to knowing and loving in fantasy. McLaurin got hurt, and they blew out the Raiders, so he didn't need to do much. 8.9, kind of a ho-hum wide receiver 2 performance from him. Kincaid, you did like to see Kincaid here. I think this was the first week Jerry started Kincaid. 15.1 fantasy points, got a touchdown. Actually, Jerry got off to a solid, respectable start here on Thursday. He had 15 from Kincaid, 4 from the Bills D, and 12 from A-Chain on Thursday. But Sunday was just a Oracle barrage. Baker Mayfield, 230-1, only 19 fantasy points, below the projection there. And God, this is an embarrassing flex play from Jerry. Wan'Dale Robinson, he fell for the Cowboys game week before. Just This is the most Wandale game ever. One catch after going off. Just everyone saw that flash in the pan coming off waivers. But Jerry falls to 0-3. It's not pretty for him right now. Maybe we can get another Renaissance in 2025.
Yeah, pretty tough scenes here for Jerry. His scoring out. I was just looking. His scoring output this year has been 99, 106, and 111. So this was actually his season high, if you can believe that. So yeah, good win for Max. Honestly, I forgot to talk to him about it football tonight, but I don't know. And I don't know if you mentioned this, but obviously Najee goes down, so we kind of had to sacrifice Najee to get this output. We'll see if the Hampton resurgence kind of brings Max's team back into legitimacy. But yeah, good win for Max there. Okay, I'll go ahead and jump into Cole versus Cannon, because that's where we're going to have our film review of the week presented by Trey. But taking a look at the game, it was our closest matchup of the week. Cannon, yeah, this was also our Mickey Mouse win of the week presented by Disney Plus. Cannon won this one 118-112 over Cole. Cannon kind of got lucky here to win this one. Jackson Smith and Jigba was a beast, kind of continues to be that stud number one receiver that Cannon desperately needs, with Brian Thomas Jr. kind of sucking. Kyron Williams also had a really good game, 18 points at Philly, pretty impressive in that matchup. Roma Dunze continues his hot start with 13 points at flex, and then the Colts defense got a pick 6 versus Cam Ward, 16 points. So kind of just a workman-like effort from Cannon's team. Golf Buddy sucked, BTJ sucked, Saquon kind of sucked, and but really that's just kind of all he needed was 118. Let's look at the dumbass plays. I guess he could have played Egbuka or ETN over BTJ or Javante, but didn't matter in this one. Oh, Pittman as well. Pittman's kind of having a nice year on Cannon's bench. We'll see if he ever actually starts him. Looking at Cole's team, also Cannon goes to 3-0, the only member of the league to be 3-0. Looking at Cole's team, it was kind of Jalen Hurts and the boys here. Jalen Hurts with 35 fantasy points, 4 touchdowns. The Eagles finally opened it up, but Cole still only manages 112. Really just didn't get much from a lot of his players. Malik Neighbors, guy, I know he's kicking himself for that trade right now. 2.3 points on Sunday night. He desperately needed Neighbors to just do anything in that Sunday night game, and Russ just kept throwing it to the Chiefs or hitting the crossbar or throwing out of bounds. I don't know what Russ was doing, but he definitely wasn't throwing to Malik Neighbors.
We went through it and did it the other way around for Josh. We know he traded for a win. Cole definitely traded for a loss, right?
Most likely just because A.J. Brown had a good game. Now, a lot of the other guys Cole traded away didn't really do much, but the guys he had in didn't do much either. I guess, Shakir wouldn't have been in his lineup, and Shakir got 12, and DK wouldn't have been in his lineup, and he got 10. So we'd have to do the math, but since he only lost by 6, and the difference between A.J. Brown and Malik Neighbors was 17, you would think it would have to be the difference in the game. But either way, started Tucker Kraft. Kraft was kind of a last-second active. He might have been a decoy out there. Either way, only 3 for 29 after his career week last week. Hollywood Brown, Ty, does someone in our league owe Hollywood Brown's family money or something? Why does he keep getting started? I don't really understand that.
Why is he rostered?
Yeah, I don't understand why he's been started 2 weeks in a row in our league. It just makes zero sense to me. Only 6.2. Even Aubrey, kind of a down game, only 8. Brees Hall, only 7. So overall, a lot of disappointing performances. But honestly, we kind of expected this from Cole coming into the week. You just can't really start guys like Shakir and Hollywood and expect to get a win. But Hurts almost tried to get it for him. So, looking at his bench, honestly, he couldn't have even won this with a choose poorly. His bench is so bad. His best bench player was Josh Downs with 4.4. So Cannon, Mickey Mouse win here, close one. And that'll take us to our film review of the week, as it did come down to Sunday Night Football, and Patrick Mahomes in the third quarter threw a touchdown that would end up being the game winner for Cannon. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to look at this touchdown to Tyquan Thornton. Crazy enough, our film review of the week 2 weeks in a row has been a Tyquan Thornton touchdown. So, all right, let's go ahead and
what?
Yeah, last week was the Tyquan Thornton touchdown that Cannons won on a Tyquan Thornton touchdown 2 weeks in a row. All right, we're gonna put this at half speed.
Bastard.
So basically, I think this was 3rd and goal. You have an empty formation. Trips at the top. Tyquan Thornton is right here in the slot. It looks like the Giants are in some kind of press man coverage on him, but brings, I think, Kareem Hunt maybe in motion here at the top of the screen. And at the snap, let's watch this. Okay, so Kareem Hunt comes all the way across, and it looks like he's just pass blocking to release. You got outside release on the down here on the outside receiver. Travis, his first read seems to be Kelsey on a little arrow route with a OPI pick route by the outside receiver. But I don't think he loves it. And then he just comes back, and you can see Thornton beat his man like a drum to the inside off the snap. And then these linebackers are just watching Mahomes' run, watching Kareem Hunt out of the backfield. They don't really account for Thornton. And then this safety here is just kind of in no man's land. There's nobody around him. He's not covering anybody. So we can back it up just a little bit, and we can watch. We can just watch Thornton. So Thornton off the snap. Yeah, we got Kareem Hunt in motion. Thornton just beats his guy like a drum to the middle. He's trailing the whole time. Holmes sees it pretty quickly, and just like I feel like that's a pretty easy play and empty, just man coverage, no help, and he just beats him to the inside. So good play for Cannon, good play for Mahomes. That ended up winning it for Cannon.
Yeah, Cole needed that to go to Hollywood or just no touchdown at all. And I think he would have either won or it would have been really close. So, all right. Good film there by Trayton. Now we're going to review our last irrelevant matchup from week 3. This one, we had another blowout as the Bear Jew took care of Suck My Ditka. Battle of the Bears fans here, 146-115. This was a must-win. We called it last week. Will was 0-2. He needed this one the worst way. Coming into Monday night, he was down 18 points with the Lamar and Jameer combo, and either one of them would have won it by themselves. That combination is electric. They combined for 57 points. Lamar is just on an absolute tear early on this season. Great draft pick. And, well, I guess great pick by Andrew and great trade by Will. The other half of that trade, Josh Allen didn't do too shabby either. Also in primetime Thursday night, puts up 29 fantasy points. Those guys are just absolute studs every year. I don't know why this league doesn't take them earlier, but middle of round 3 always kind of seems to be the moment for them. Might have to be at the 2-3 turn next year. Other things that impacted this matchup greatly would be a 20-burger from Cortland Stuffin. I think he only had like 1 catch in week 2, so really good bounce back from him against a pretty good Chargers secondary. Pickens, 15.3. I believe he scored his first touchdown of the season, so good to see there for Will in the second flex position. Still a pretty slow start from Drake London. Mike Evans had the short yardage touchdown before leaving with the hammy. And then not much there from Swift, 9.3 at RB2. Looking over at Andrew's side, Devontae Smith, like we talked about with A.J. Brown, the Eagles finally had to throw. So you saw a little bit more passing volume there for Smith. Bucky and Tony both got like a 12 or 11.9, 12.9 fantasy points. CeeDee Lamb with a bagel. This one really hurt Andrew. I don't think it would have made the difference. I don't think Lamb's putting up 32, but hell, he's one of like 3 or 4 players that are even capable of that. CeeDee Lamb goes down in the first quarter on a rush. How did he get 0 fantasy points? I guess that was a 0-yard run that he got hurt on.
Yeah.
High ankle sprain, kind of a dirty play by the Bears linebacker, for being honest. Hip drop.
Hip drop. Yeah.
But yeah, Andrew's number 1 draft pick goes down. Hate to see it for him. Hate to see it for the Cowboys. He did get 26 combined from defense and kicker. Jake Bates and Seattle D put up a solid number there, but this was just all around a bad week for Andrew. You lose your best player, and a lot of your ancillary pieces just aren't developing. The only positive development you could really spin coming out of this week for Andrew is that the 2 running backs in front of Travion New England fumbled 3 times. So you might get to see more involvement from him going forward, but Kittle's hurt, Lamb's hurt. Those are 2 of your studs. I guess there's help on the way with Jordan Addison. His suspension's over. Maybe Juwan Jennings comes back healthy, but overall, it's just kind of bad vibes with Andrew's team right now, and he takes a loss here. He was 2-0, though, so he could afford it. 2-1, still not a bad spot to be for Andrew heading into week 4.
Yeah, Lamar and Gibbs just kind of dominated for Will on Monday night. That was a fun game. Okay, so now we're going to move into our Showtime matchups of the week. And we're going to take a look at your matchup with Josh. You took your first L of the season here, 109-120 versus the Ugly Ducklings. White shirt falls in this one. Looking at Josh's team first, A.J. Brown was his high score. A.J. Brown, we kind of knew this would eventually come from A.J. Brown. He's just too good of a player. And like you said, the Eagles had to throw. They were down in this game. 19.9 for A.J. Brown. Pretty good trade for Josh. We calculated earlier this week that if Josh had not made this trade, he would have lost to you. So week winning trade for Josh. A.J. Brown, 19. Ken Walker, pretty predictable, 17 against the Saints, 2 touchdowns. The Seahawks just blew them out. Other than that, it was kind of just like, double digits across the board. DJ Moore, 10, Trey McBride, 12, Daniel Jones, 17, Derrick Henry, 10, defense and kicker combined for 23. So pretty ho-hum across the board. No major bagels other than Zay Flowers. You feel like you could have had a shot in this one. He didn't really have any choose poorlies either. So just kind of a pedestrian week from Josh. He didn't have Jaden Daniels, had to put in Daniel Jones. Got a lot of touchdowns, which was nice. Not a ton of yardage or catches or anything. So a lot of touchdowns, only 120. But for you, kind of looking at what happened here, Dak Prescott was pretty big disappointment. At Chicago, you expected that to be a shootout.
Ass.
CD Lamb going down early didn't help, but Dak was pretty bad. Had an unlucky interception bounce off Pickens' hands, but just probably you expected at least one more touchdown. Just the Cowboys to be more competitive in that game. Only 14 points and only 14 fantasy points for Dak Prescott kind of killed you there. Josh Jacobs also single digits. The Cleveland defense just looks legit, man. They held him to 30 yards, stuffed at the goal line multiple times. T-Mac, kind of his first bad game, 3 for 48 is even with the Panthers winning 30-0, I guess they just didn't really have to throw much in that game. Tyler Warren, his worst game of the year as well. They were kind of blowing out the Titans, but he just didn't get much in the mix. Ashton Genty, this one's a concern, only 6.3. The Raiders' offensive line just can't really block for him. He's not getting any he got 0 targets in this game. The Commanders kind of blew them out. He didn't play as much in the second half. So your first-round pick, just looking like a bust right now. 2 straight games under 7 points. So I know you're pretty worried about Genty there, and he definitely contributed to this loss for you. And then you also felt like a dumbass because you dropped the Vikings DST, who scored 30 for the Falcons, who only got 5. So, yeah, this was kind of you're a dumbass week for you. You even chose poorly with Drake May, who wouldn't have necessarily gotten you the win, but it would have been way closer if you went with May over Dak. So I don't know. James Cook was obviously your bright spot. He's been your best player all year, so he was still great. But yeah, what did you think happened in this one?
Yeah, we let the win slip through our fingers here. If I had just not opened the fantasy app in between week 2 and week 3, I would have won because I had Drake May and the Vikings defense. in last week. So, tough scenes here. A few notes. I mean, Tyler Warren, I wasn't overly upset with the Warren stuff just because he had Daniel Jones. So it was like pretty much anything Warren gets, Daniel Jones will as well. And that just, like you said, that was a JT and Colts defense barrage. I did like to see 15.7 from Ricky Pearsall. He looked good. James Cook got me off to a great start on Thursday. I came into Sunday feeling great, and then just I will not utter the words Ashton Genty until he does something. Like, he's Ashton now. I can't. He's garbage. First round pick. I put so much into this guy, and he can't score a freaking fantasy point. His offensive line doesn't block. Jacobs, I think he broke a 9-game touchdown streak, was the longest in the NFL, but that was tough scenes. And then, Dak was just a horrible disappointment. Couldn't even score in garbage time, stupid picks. And they fucking pulled him out of the game for Joe Milton when it was like a 17-point game with 7 minutes left. So that pissed me off too. But this was one. I was 2-0. I'm trying to build up as much dubs before Rice gets back. So this doesn't kill me. I'm still 2-1, but playing against Josh, I kind of considered him a bye and without Jaden Daniels, and he only put up 120. So it's just such a winnable game that you'd like to get. But we flush this one. We move on to week 4. All right, let's close the book here on week 3 with our last Showtime matchup of the week, the Bogo Caniacs. That's right. You took down Luke here. Pretty good performance from your team. 147.9 to 115. You won by 32. Who needs a super stack when you've got Jonathan Taylor, 31 fantasy points? He was running wild all over the Tennessee Titans. And then Caleb Williams, fresh off waivers into your lineup, just puts up a number. NFC Offensive Player of the Week, goes off for 4 touchdowns against the Cowboys, 37 fantasy points for you. And then we get to the Bungles. It was a rough first week without Joe Burrow, 10 points combined from your first 2 round picks. Would you consider your Chase Brown your second or your third round pick?
I got JT in the third, so I guess that means Chase Brown was round 2.
Yeah, so your first 2 picks combined for 10 points. That's a disappointment. Jamar Chase, as good as he is, cannot overcome Jake Browning. And then speaking of waivers, we kind of clowned you on last week's pod for going $30 a fab each on Jake and Caleb, but they've come through. They're 1 for 1, 14.7 points for Jake Ferguson. He had 13 receptions for 82 yards. That is like the most tight end PPR run 7 yards, turn around, catch the ball and fall down stat line I've ever seen. Calvin Ridley, not really sure why you started him. Not really sure why you have him on your team. He sucks. One catch, 27 yards. Cam Ward's a dog water. And then J.K. Dobbins, one of the more consistent players in the league right now. He's hovered around that 13 to 15 fantasy point mark every single week. Gets in the end zone again this week. And, this was just a good performance overall from your team. And then you kind of got to kick back on Sunday night and watch Cam Scattaboo on your bench go off. 21 fantasy points from him. Tyrone Tracy got hurt. So it's always good when you have the win wrapped up and you still get to like scout and watch one of your players' rest of season value increase in a primetime game. For Luke, he did finally get some quarterback production, 300 yards from Herbert, but only 1 touchdown, 16 fantasy points. Still not what you're looking for entirely when you trade for a quarterback like that. You're looking for upwards of 20. Christian McCaffrey just kind of did what Christian McCaffrey does, 19 points, pretty par for the course from him. The rest of the lineup, not so great. Debo, fat-ass Samuel, 2 catches, 11 yards. Not really sure why he started him when Jaden was out. And then Brock Bowers just doesn't look the same right now. You got to think that knee is just bugging him, or it's something with the design of the offense or something, because 2 straight weeks of bad Bowers, you just don't really see that. Sun God looked good Monday night, 7 for 77 and a touchdown. Keenan Allen, it's really been one of the biggest surprises so far of the fantasy season. 7 for 65 and a touchdown for him. Looks great back in that Chargers uniform. Devontae Adams scored. Chuba Hubbard did not. We saw what's the other guy? Rico Dowdle got that garbage time touchdown. Chuba had kind of been feasting off like fourth quarter touchdowns. Didn't get it this week. Looking at Luke's bench, definitely could have gone with Judkins. Had 94 and a touchdown, 16 points on the bench. I think we'll see him as a starter moving forward for Luke. Why is he rostering Jerry Jeudy? But overall, when I look at this game, this was just JT and Caleb kind of flexing a little bit on Luke. You moved to 2-1. Luke falls to 1-2. Pretty good win here for you. Tyreek Hill showed some signs of life. You like to be 2-1. 2 wins in a row. You're on a little bit of a winning streak now. Who needs a stack, right?
Yeah, no, feeling good. Yeah, speaking of JT flexing, we're gonna go back to the film room here, and this is our glaze of the week presented by Krispy Kreme. This run was absolutely crazy against the Titans, and pretty much put it out of reach for Luke. I was up by a lot at this point, so pretty impactful for fantasy too. So we're going to watch this run. It's a 47-yard touchdown run. We'll put it at half speed and kind of break it down. We'll watch it from both angles. So pretty simple concept, pretty much just ISO. It looks like every lineman just, hat on a hat, and then Tyler Warren here at fullback just comes through and gets the linebacker. But yeah, you can see Tyler Warren just boom hits that linebacker trying to fill the hole. And look at this giant hole that's created in the ISO. 2 high safeties, so they weren't really stacking the box. And then really it's just about JT making these 2 safeties miss. So he just shakes that guy, spins that guy, and then one broken tackle. You can't arm tackle Jonathan Taylor, and then he outruns this guy, another arm tackle. Crazy play here from Jonathan Taylor, just individual talent. We'll watch it from this other angle too, because I feel like it's even more impressive. All right, yeah. So, it's pretty simple ISO play. I'm not really sure why the Titans aren't stacking the box here against I formation Jonathan Taylor, but I guess that's their decision. Again, ISO, so you got a double team. Everyone else is lined up or singled up. Tyler Warren just boom, crack.
I should have got fantasy points for that block, bro.
You should. That was a good block. Just gets the linebacker, and then really the play is like these 2 safeties just can't even contain him. So jukes that guy out of his shoes, spins him, arm tackle.
Get off me.
He jumps over his own teammate, arm tackle.
That's Sneed. Sneed gets fucked. It's kind of a block in the back.
Yeah, I thought they might call blocking the back there on Pittman, but 46-yard touchdown. JT, best running back in the league.
Yeah, no, good run there. Glaze of the week presented by Krispy Kreme. Thank you for that. All right, now we are going to move on from week 3. We are into week 4, pivotal week 4. Going into week 4, let's do some stock up, stock down. Let's start with stock down. Who are we feeling worse about coming out of week 3?
I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit here. I'm going to go with Andrew. Yeah, Andrew took his first loss of the season, sitting at 2-1, and really just the big hit to his team, losing CeeDee Lamb, not for too long, probably 3 weeks or so, 2 to 3 weeks it seems like, but he was just so dependent on CeeDee Lamb already with his lack of other amazing players. Like Josh Allen's obviously elite, but Bucky Irving just hasn't. Bucky Irving's been good, but he hasn't really been like a second-round pick good. And then he lost George Kittle. And then Trevion's been a big bust. So honestly, he was pretty dependent on CeeDee Lamb staying healthy and being really, really good. And now that he's not, I look up and down Andrew's roster, and I feel like he almost needs Josh Allen to score 35 points to even give himself a chance. I mean, you didn't mention this earlier, but he actually started Cooper Cup this week. I'm not really sure if he thought it was like 2021 already, like triple crown season, but kind of embarrassing roster here for Andrew, and I'm not really sure he has a path to the playoffs unless he trades. He has a smart CeeDee Lamb trade, or him and Kittle both come back, or Henderson takes off. I'm not really seeing a path here for Andrew.
I'm trying to remember how he was even 2-0. Like, how was he winning? It looks like I'm looking at his game logs from the first 2 weeks, and it looks like you're right. It's kind of just like Josh Allen put up 42 in week 1, carried him to victory there, and then he basically he got the Mickey Mouse win of the week in week 2, beating Max, who only had 90. So yeah, Andrew just kind of
Cannon's complaining that you're not putting up his chats. By the way,
I literally put up the block in the back chat. What is he crying about? Okay, my stock down. Let's see. I'm gonna go with Cole. Just, if he falls to 1 and 2, and I think the early dividends on that trade from the previous week were pretty bad for Cole. We kind of called it at the time doing trade review, but seeing it play out in real time was rough. You give away like basically your entire receiving core: Ladd, AJ Brown, Zay Flowers, and now you're starting guys like Hollywood and Shakir. And this was actually a good Shakir week. Most Shakir weeks are going to be closer to 4 for 45 without the touchdown. Neighbors had a horrible game. His first game for Cole. Breece Hall, that week 1 performance feels like it was last year, how long ago that was. He hasn't really been good since then. And then Bijan, the Falcons offense just kind of broken. So kind of feels like with Cole, you're just hoping for tush pushes to carry you. Not really sure what you're hanging your hat on there for Cole. His bench kind of sucks. I don't know why he traded for RJ Harvey. The breakout's not coming. Evan Ingram on his team is horrible. He's got DeAndre Hopkins. We just talked about it being 2018. It's not. Romeo Doubs, Josh Downs, you're just wide receiver 4s taking up space on his bench. Literally his second best player might be Brandon Aubrey. So, yeah, just stock down for Cole. All right, stock up. Who are you feeling better about coming out of week 3?
I'm going to give Oracle a shout out and stock up. We kind of mentioned it with his matchup review, but Jordan Mason definitely looks like the real deal with Aaron Jones on IR, and now not Jesus is out for the year with the Achilles. Hampton finally had his breakout, and so Garrett Wilson's had 2 pretty solid weeks out of 3. Nico Collins finally had a great game. Really, when you look up and down Max's roster, he has a few guys with the arrow pointed up. So, not Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, because he just blows. But other than that, Max, we were kind of worried that Max might be destined for the Sacco. But after this performance and some of his players' value, I'm kind of feeling better about Max, at least making it maybe into a relevancy.
Agree. This was a big week for him. Anytime you put up 160, that's going to earn you some stock up. I'm actually going to go with Will. I know that Mike Evans got hurt, and that's not great for him, but you just see the power that Lamar and Gibbs have. It's just so hard to contend with. It's almost like you just need the rest of your team to show up, and you can put up 130, 140 in a given week. So I like what we're seeing out of the core of his team. He's just got to get some production out of guys like London and Pickens and Sutton moving forward. And then a low-key stock up is Bashal Tootin on Will's bench. He had a touchdown this week. He had a touchdown last week, and you're just slowly starting to see him eat into ETN's workload. And I could see Bashal Tootin working himself into a 50-50 and into Will's lineup here pretty soon in the next couple of weeks. So stock up, William McCombs. All right, now it is time for the waiver Wire, that's right. Waivers ran early this morning. Let's take a look at what we've got going on here.
It's been kind of a boring waiver year overall.
Yeah, I haven't had a ton of studs. I was listening to a podcast earlier, and they made a good point. I think the best waiver I had so far has been Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, some leagues, Trey Benson might have been out there, and that would have been like the first big fish. But you pretty smartly stashed him on your bench.
Yeah, our league's full of sharps. You don't get players like that on waivers, really. All right. Let's see. The sweepstakes of the week was an uncontested $27 bid for tight end one Hunter Henry. This was a massive overpay by Cannon. Not really sure what he was thinking here. No one else was going to go for Hunter Henry. I know we're all Hog fans, so we like the guy, but for fantasy, he's so hit or miss. He'll do this where he'll like have a random week with 2 touchdowns, and then next week he'll be back to like 4 for 22, and he'll be back on waivers. So I don't know what Cannon was doing here. I kind of dropped the whole golfing buddy bit he was doing with Kyle Pitts. Did Kyle Pitts have a bad game last week? Yeah, 4 for 39. I guess he was just kind of fed up with Pitts. Moving on to Hunter Henry. Probably could have saved the fab there. This is going to be your overspend of the week where we pull out the money gif. Next highest win. Oh, no other bids for Hunter Henry. Next highest winning bid was a doozy. Josh and Andrew both go 17 for Woody Marks. He gets awarded to Andrew. Is this by reverse order of record, or what is the tiebreaker on waivers?
I think it starts there, but then it cycles to where, like, if you break a tie, maybe you go back to the bottom. I'm honestly not sure. I kind of just blindly trust it. I just don't really expect that many fab ties, but I feel like we've had more recently.
We've had 2 so far this year, both Andrew dunking on
Andrew,
Josh.
both times Andrew won it over Josh, which makes me think maybe every week it resets to reverse order, but I don't really know.
I'm a little surprised Woody Marks was getting like bid up or fought over on waivers. Has he really done anything?
I feel like he just gets hype as like a rookie who could I agree with you. I don't really get why he was bid up, because at what point are you actually excited about Woody Marks? And then if you look at their schedule, you're not starting him this week, and then they're at Baltimore and then a bye week. So to me, I could see Woody Marks just being back on waivers in like a week or two if he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I think the vision for Andrew is he's had some injuries. He's desperate for anyone with a pulse. And I think Woody Marks might have been the highest projected running back available. He is behind an older injury-prone running back with Chubb, and his carries did go up, basically doubled from 3 to 6 in week 2 to week 3. So maybe there's something there from Marks, but I just don't think the Texans' offensive line is blocking well enough for there to be any much value there from the backfield. He's also got Bill and Trevion on his bench, so he's basically just stashing a ton of shit rookie running backs right now.
Yeah.
Maybe one of them breaks out towards the back half of the season, but more than likely he's going to have to pivot off. All right, next highest winning bid was Max. He finally found his quarterback replacement, dropping C.J. Stroud to waivers where he should have been the entire season. $15 for Matthew Stafford. This was an interesting ad from the Oracle just because Stafford is kind of a low-end fringe QB1 option right now. He's the 13th ranked quarterback. He is pretty consistent getting like 250 and 2, but you never get any rushing production from him. He's got -8 rushing yards on the season, and he doesn't really have those big high ceiling games like 3-4 touchdowns. He's good. He's a way better NFL player than he is fantasy quarterback. What do you think about this ad? Is this just like I'm tired of Stroud putting up 12s. I want Stafford putting up 18s. Like, raise the floor of my QB position.
Well, he also has Puka, so if Puka ever decides to start catching touchdowns, that's a stack opportunity. And, with Devontae and Puka, I do feel like Stafford's floor is pretty high, like 2 touchdowns every week. You can kind of just count on that.
Yeah, and he's at home this week against the Colts. I like that matchup for Stafford. And then we had the Lions D, another double-digit fantasy defense for Cole here. They are home this week against the Browns. That defense looked great against the Ravens. I think they sacked Lamar, who's not easy to bring down, like 6 or 7 times, something crazy like that on Monday Night Football. They look great. I'm sure they'll get to Flacco a few times. There were a few other unsuccessful bids lower than that, but we also had a bunch of people randomly put Darnell Mooney's like the guy this year. It's just like every single waiver report features Darnell Mooney. Trey Tucker, fresh. I actually thought Trey Tucker, someone might get baited by that 3 touchdown performance.
I agree. I'm kind of proud of our league for him only going for $6.
We're not falling for that. I guess Josh is drop digs. And then Andrew, not surprisingly, Bears fan, goes ahead and snags Luther Burden, dropping Cooper Kupp to waivers. Luther Burden showed some signs of life last week, caught that deep bomb off the flea flicker. Too small, Josh again, outbidding him for Luther Burden by $1. Your boy added Lutz and Goff for $2 each. No other bids.
All right, okay, can we like why are you putting actual dollars on a kicker?
I don't know. I wanted him.
I don't really understand. Like, did you think he was significantly the best kicker on waivers?
I don't know. I'm kind of getting antsy with my fab. I haven't really had anyone to spend it on, so I'm just trying to get money out off the board. I don't know. It's kind of one of those like, who cares? Like, it's just inconvenient enough that I don't want to go figure out what other kicker I want, so I might as well just lock it up here with $2. And then everything else is just bullshit. Who cares? Backup, tight ends, defenses, kickers. Josh adds Chris Rodriguez, Washington running back. So that is your waiver wire from week 3. All right. Now we are going to do everyone's favorite segment.
Dun, dun, dun. Trade review. Where Trey reviews your trades. Okay. You took me off the screen. What are you doing?
Sorry, I'm fixing it. Go back. There we go.
Okay. All right. So one new trade this week, I believe, since we last recorded. And it was just me and Josh. This one was actually getting discussed in the group text before we started recording. This dropped on Monday, but I traded Chase Brown for DJ Moore. And so I'll explain my side of it a little bit, and then I'll let you kind of give your thoughts. So for me, Chase Brown just wasn't getting it done. I don't really care how high I drafted him. He pretty much lost all value that I held for him once Joe Burrow got hurt, and I realized how bad the offensive line was. He's averaging like 1 yard per carry. He's not as involved in the passing game as he was last year. The offense looks miserable with Jake Browning, and so he's not going to get many touchdowns. I don't feel good about him, like starting him at all. His upcoming schedule is really difficult. And especially having Jamar Chase, kind of like y'all were saying maybe a week ago, like I have to diversify away from that version of the Bengals, especially. So I definitely knew I wanted to trade Chase Brown. I probably did it a week too late. Maybe held on through the Vikings game was dumb by me. But either way, traded Chase Brown for DJ Moore. And I definitely seem to be getting a lot of flack for targeting DJ Moore. But I guess I'll explain. And, obviously I nabbed Caleb off of waivers. And after what I saw against Dallas, now it is Dallas, but I feel like the Ben Johnson offense is going to work with Caleb. And so for me to be able to add a stack there and pair DJ Moore as a player who, it looks like Rome Odunze is the clear number one, and maybe he just is and will dominate, but DJ Moore is still a great player as long as he's locked in there, running all the routes. I think that over the season, he will be a really good flex and provide upside for my team that I definitely wasn't getting from Chase Brown. So, you could argue I could have potentially got someone better, but I really feel like everyone was down on Chase Brown, and at this point he was just name value. Yes, I took him in round 2, 3, but his entire value was tied to Joe Burrow, and so I kind of had to just get out from under it, get something that made sense for my team. So, are you on the side of the league where you feel like I could have got more, or well, that was poorly worded, could have got a better player, or do you
Did get more?
Or do you think DJ Moore is a fine compensation for Chase Brown?
So I was actually on the train. I thought you should have traded him last week before we saw the Browning offense, because I had a pretty good feeling we were going to see a shit show. Like, if I tried to trade T. Higgins this week, I don't think I could have even gotten QJ or anyone in that realm for him. So it's kind of one of those things. You want to be proactive in fantasy. You don't want to be reactive, because now you're having to sell Chase Brown for much lower than not only his draft day cost, but even his week 2 to week 3 cost. I think you mentioned you got offered Zay Flowers last week. I'm sure if you had tried hard enough to sell him, you could have found someone that you see as a reliable, like, lock and loaded starter for your fantasy moving forward. You've already kind of mentioned you don't really view DJ Moore that way. He's a flex option. He's not a starter. I don't think you're starting him this week. I think the biggest difference for me between Chase Brown and DJ Moore in terms of value is just opportunities. And in fantasy, opportunities are obviously very important. If you look at Chase Brown, week 1, 21 carries, 3 targets. That's 24 opportunities to touch the ball and make an impact in fantasy. Week 2, 16 carries, 3 targets. That's 19 opportunities. And then last week, even in a blowout, 10 carries, 5 targets, 15 opportunities for Chase Brown. Whereas you look at DJ Moore, what Ben Johnson is trying to do, what he's trying to bring, is that Detroit run, pound, 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 play action style. And I think we're seeing not only more running from the Chicago Bears, but we're seeing Rome Odunze in his second year top 10 draft pick really emerge as Caleb's preferred target. Now, it's just 3 games, so maybe DJ Moore starts to work himself back into the fold. He's still a high-paid, high-skilled wide receiver, but it's no denying it right now. Rome Odunze is out-producing and out-targeting him. DJ Moore, the first 3 weeks, he's got 5, 6, and 5 targets. If he's going to be in that 5 to 6 target range, I don't know when you'll ever feel great about starting him. You need him. Rome Odunze is getting 8, 9, 10 targets. So I think if you trade away someone, even in a bad offense, Chase Brown's averaging 18 opportunities a game. You trade that for someone that's only getting 5 opportunities a game, even in a better offense. You just need DJ Moore to be so efficient on those 5 or 6 targets. So are you counting on a jump in volume, or are you viewing him as a boom bust flex?
I definitely think he'll average more than 5.5 targets. I think he will end up closer to that 7 to 8 range. I think, like I said, I don't really see Odunze as an alpha, and then I guess I just think their offense is so good that even if 6, 7 targets, maybe he just ends up in there, I think he can still be good. So we'll see, because I get your point, but opportunities on the Bengals, especially running opportunities behind that line, are almost like not. I don't even almost count those as opportunities. Like, all he's getting the opportunity to do right now, Chase Brown, is run into his lineman and fall down. So I don't know. I definitely could see myself regretting this one, but I don't really think it'll be because Chase Brown is amazing. I think it's just maybe DJ Moore isn't good. Like, I think both players are like in and out of lineups all year. I don't really see either player necessarily breaking out from here.
Yeah, fair point. That'll be a fun one to monitor as we go throughout the season.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
real quick, just want to kind of touch on what we said last week with that three-way trade that went down with Josh, Cole, and Luke. Initial thoughts after we've seen a week of it play out, just because we like to maybe take a look back sometimes. To your point for Luke, Justin Herbert really wasn't great in his first week, but I think overall that'll end up being fine. He actually benched Waddle, who did okay. He's actually starting him this week, and he's benching Debo, who he acquired. So he could have a tough time deciding between Debo and Waddle on a week-to-week basis, but really the only player of that trade that did anything great was A.J. Brown. So early on, you kind of have to call Josh the winner by default, but it was kind of funny because I almost feel like everyone from the trade sucked, and it was like nobody was a winner, but A.J. Brown was really the only player from the trade that was like a really good player in last week. So that'll be something we just kind of keep monitoring. But early on, Cole selling his whole team for Malik Neighbors does not look good. Obviously, Jackson Dart got announced the Giants starting quarterback moving forward. I don't know. What do you, just side note, what do you think that Jackson Dart means for Malik Neighbors?
If I had Malik Neighbors, I would probably coat myself into convincing myself it was a good thing, especially off of what we saw from Russ on Sunday. That was disgusting. I do wonder if it's a bigger problem with the Giants system, though, and like our defense is just going to do what the Chiefs were able to do, play too high, bracket Neighbors, and say, beat us with Wandale, beat us with Scatabo, beat us with insert no-name Giant skill player. I think right now there's an easy team to guard. Now, Dart looked great in the preseason. If he can come in and like somehow just be this rookie revelation and be able to throw the ball downfield and take chances, the team's not going to be good. So they're going to have to throw. And if he can have an ounce of success, like Wilson, the one thing Wilson does have is he's got those moon balls. He can chuck it to Neighbors. We saw it in the Cowboys game when he went for 33. I don't know if Dart can support a 33-point fantasy game right now, even against the worst defenses in the league. So we'll have to see if this kid is ready. I think we'll find out pretty quickly. They're playing the Chargers on Sunday, who have a really good defense. So is Derwin James just baiting the shit out of him left and right? Or is he able to find some crease in the defense, give Neighbors the ball? If I'm a Giants fan, I love it because I just want to see what this kid can do. And we all know what Russ is at this point. If I'm a Neighbors fantasy owner, it just makes me a little nervous because it's a rookie quarterback. At least with Russ, you knew, okay, he can chuck a deep ball and Neighbors can make a play on it. I don't even know if Dart can get those balls up there.
Yeah. All right, moving on to week 4.
Yep, here we go. Pivotal week 4. We'll do a quick standings review here as we head into week 4. What we've got right now is we've basically got one 3-0 team with Cannon, 1-0-3 team with Jerry, and then a solid middle 8. Everyone else is 2-1 or 1-2. Myself, Andrew, Josh, and you are 2-1, and then Cole, Luke, Will, and Max are 1-2. So unless you're Cannon or Jerry, you can't feel too good or bad one or the other. 2-1, 1-2. We're just kind of all middling there, trying to fight for position. Last year, I remember the playoff race being pretty boring and decided, wrapped up by the end. So I'm actually hoping this year we get a little bit more like this, where it's like a lot of 2-1, 1-2, a lot of people hovering around 500, fighting for those extra playoff spots, fighting to stay out of the Sacco. I'm okay with like one runaway team if Cannon wants to go off and Jerry just be
The points for is also insane right now.
I know. Didn't someone point out everyone's within like 15 points of each other except Jerry?
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of this league. So right now it kind of just feels like, you need the right matchup on the right week, but everyone's teams are relatively performing even right now. So it's a fun league right now heading into week 4. All right, pick an irrelevant matchup and I'll pull it up.
All right, let's look at Luke and Cole.
All right.
All right. Wow, ESPN has this one as a blowout. 57% chance for Luke already. Let's take a look at the matchups. Justin Herbert at the Giants, Jalen Hurts at Tampa Bay, both on the road. Herbert's been playing well. I'll give that nod to Hurts just because he's probably going to get a tush-push touchdown or two. At running back, Christian McCaffrey home against Jacksonville. Sean Judkins enters the starting lineup at Detroit. Pretty tough matchup for Judkins, but he's been looking really good, gets the volume, so don't mind it. For Cole, he's got Bijan home against the Commanders and Breece Hall at Miami. Really good matchup for Breece Hall. I'll lean Cole there just because I really do like that matchup for Breece Hall Monday night against the Dolphins. He might need something from him on Monday night to win this one. At receiver, Sun God home against Cleveland. They've been a really good defense overall. Devontae against the Colts. Malik Neighbors against the Chargers. DK Metcalf versus Minnesota. Got to lean Luke here. Just Devontae is such a good receiver too. DK against the Vikings. I could see him kind of getting shut down there. At tight end, Bowers and Kraft. Bowers hasn't been himself, but you still like him against the Bears versus Kraft. I know it's Dallas, but Kraft just didn't look healthy last week. And we'll see if he looks like himself again. And then at flex, this is where Luke really just kind of overtakes Cole. Chuba Hubbard at New England, Jalen Waddle home against the Jets. Not like amazing plays, but pretty solid. When you look at Cole's flexes here, this is just where him making that trade just it makes his team pretty embarrassingly bad. He's starting Khalil Shakir, which maybe you just say Buffalo's going to put so many points up against the Saints that Shakir gets a touchdown, but then he's starting RJ Harvey. They do have the Bengals at home, but I don't know how you can start Harvey with the amount of volume he's been getting. So Cole kind of calling his shot here with Harvey. I don't really love it, so I'm gonna give this one to Luke. Not as easy as ESPN projects it. I'll say Luke wins pretty narrowly. It'll come down to Monday night. It'll be Jalen Waddle for Luke versus Breece Hall and RJ Harvey. Luke will be winning coming into the night, and Waddle will score a touchdown, and that'll be just enough. Luke wins 121 to 115.
Yeah, I'm going to go Luke landslide. This is an embarrassing lineup Cole's putting out. I thought I'd accidentally moved to the waiver wire column in my app, seeing Khalil Shakir and RJ Harvey in the starting lineup. I'm going to say Cole gets blown out here 140 to 80. All right, our next irrelevant matchup of week 4, we've got William McCombs taking on Max Henderson, a battle of 1 and 2 teams here. 2 and 2 sounds a lot better than 1 and 3. Both these teams coming off huge performances in week 3. Jesus had 160. Will put up 146. Potentially the 2 highest scoring teams from last week facing off here. Quarterback, Will's going to have the edge at quarterback pretty much every single week when you have Lamar Jackson. He's also facing the Chiefs in a really fun AFC showdown. He kind of always seems to destroy the Chiefs. They have a good defense. It's in Arrowhead, but Lamar is just like an auto 30 burger at this point with what he does rushing and throwing. And then fresh off waivers for Max, Matthew Stafford into the lineup, home against the Colts. I think, again, he's going to be safe for that like 18 to 22 point, 250 and 2. But Lamar just so much more dynamic here. You got to give the advantage at quarterback to Will.
Hello? Did you freeze? All right, looks like Ty might be frozen. He's probably going to have to leave and join back potentially. Give him a second here. Not really sure what that
early
Dallas
morning game.
Hello?
What just happened?
We have not heard anything from you since you talked about Matthew Stafford.
Oh, shit. Okay. I'm going to not share my screen because I think that's what messes up the connection.
Okay.
All right. So Jahmyr Gibbs home. The Browns have like the best run defense in the NFL. So that's going to be a tough matchup, but Gibbs gets enough in the passing game that I think he'll be fine. Swift is banged up, but the Raiders' run D blows. So Monongai's been taking a little bit more away, but I think Swift can still have a decent game as long as he's healthy. And then for Max, Jordan Mason, the bell cow, since taking over for Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is still out. That's the London game, early morning 30 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers defense actually hasn't really been the traditional steel curtain we've seen. They've been kind of leaky so far this year. And then Amari and Hampton, both of Max's starting running backs are basically just beneficiaries of one of his other running backs getting hurt. So Amari and Hampton against the Giants. I think I'm actually going to give the advantage at running back to Max here. I think Gibbs could have some tough sledding there with the Browns, and I like Mason and Hampton both pretty significantly over Swift. Wide receiver, Drake London. This is kind of a do or die, put up or shut up week for Drake London. He has yet to even have double-digit fantasy points this year. He's at home. They just fired their wide receiver coach. The Commanders aren't some great secondary. We need to see. This has got to be a Drake London game. And then Pickens, too. I'm expecting big things out of him. CeeDee Lamb's hurt. They're going to need to score. Will the Cowboys, with their offensive line woes, be able to protect Dak enough against that nasty Parsons and bustery Gary-led Packers pass rush to let Dak throw the ball downfield, find Pickens? I don't know. I think even if it's ugly, like it could be a really inefficient, like 12 targets for 5 catches. I do think on those 5 catches, Pickens will be able to put up enough fantasy production to make this start worth it. For Max, he's actually got some of the better wide receiver options in the league right now. Puka Nacua is just an auto, like 15-plus fantasy points and half PPR right now. Colts secondary is not great. I like the stack there. I don't know if he scores a touchdown, but he'll have probably 80 to 120 yards. And then he's got Marvin Harrison Jr. coming off a lot of scrutiny. Week 3 had a ton of drops. Thursday night game, Seattle's secondary is pretty good. Don't love the play there, but I think you just kind of have to go with him and hope he scores. I think I got to give the advantage at wide receiver to Max. I just think his wide receivers are better. Tight end, Kelsey, Ertz, old guys washed. That's a wash. And then at flex, we've got Stuffin and Olave versus Nico and Garrett. I mean, this is Max pretty easily for me. I'm not an Olave guy. And Sutton, home against the Bengals, it just feels like their defense and running game are going to carry the day there. Browning's not going to force him to throw. So I like the Oracle here actually pretty easily. I think he keeps it hot, keeps it rolling. He won't put up 160, but I like him to throw up another like 135, and then will fall pretty short of that at 118. Oracle takes this one down.
Yeah, no, I'm actually with you. I like Max in this one. His team is kind of rounding in form at the right time. So, all right, let's look at our last irrelevant matchup. This one will be pretty quick. We've got Cannon and Jerry, 3-0 versus 0-3. I mean, this could not be a bigger mismatch this early in the season. I mean, honestly, let's just play a game of does Jerry have a advantage at any position here as we look down the rosters. Mahomes, Mayfield, pretty easy Mahomes, even though, we don't really know if Xavier Worthy's going to play, but Baker doesn't even have Mike Evans, and they're playing the Eagles, so got to lean Mahomes there. Saquon, definitely, I guess we'll put him versus Achane. So I definitely think Achane is Jerry's saving grace here potentially against the Jets at home. You kind of need Achane to have one of those like 150 total yards, 2 touchdown type games for Jerry to have any chance, but don't really see that happening. I do think he could outscore Barkley, but Kyron Williams is going to significantly outscore Jerry's RB2. David Montgomery, that's just not a good matchup against the Browns.
No,
for him, Justin, what's up?
I don't like that play. Montgomery play.
Justin Jefferson, just don't really see him doing much with Carson Wentz. I don't know. He's kind of nerfed until he gets decent quarterback play. Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's been going off, and the Cardinals' secondary is beat up, so I like that for Cannon. Jerry has Chris Godwin in the lineup. I'm not really sure if he's seeing a report that we're not, but
he got a full practice in.
Yeah, I don't really know if I expect him to play, or if he does, I don't know he's getting a full snap share. So it seems pretty risky. If
With
he
Evans
doesn't,
out, they might need him.
yeah, and then McLaurin is probably out, it sounds like, for the Commanders. So
Yeah.
Jerry is fucked. I'm looking at Jerry's bench right now. He is fucked.
Maybe we should pull a college game day and pick this by the spread. Well,
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
Cannon minus 19.5.
Yeah, because either way, Buka, I would expect to outscore Godwin. Hunter Henry and Kincaid, you can call it a wash, but Henry's been better overall. Brian Thomas Jr., Roma Dunze, pretty solid flexes there for Cannon.
I don't know why he's starting BTJ. He's got good enough bench options that I would sit him until he shows it.
Javonte has a pretty tough matchup. Jameson, tough matchup. I don't think you're going to ETN or Pittman over BTJ unless you're just kind of done with BTJ at this point. So I don't really mind the decision from Cannon.
Start BTJ or start Javonte over BTJ.
And then Xavier Worthy is also in Jerry's lineup. I don't really know what the reports are on Worthy. It looks like he was a full participant, but
he's going to play.
He'll be wearing a sling and likely not playing a full snap share. So you're really just praying he somehow gets a deep ball touchdown. So yeah, kind of like we said, this is a pretty easy Cannon. Jerry's on his way to 0-4. Cannon will be 4-0.
Yep, same bye week for Cannon. Moving on, Showtime. We've got our Showtime matchups of the week presented by Diet Coke. It's the Ugly Ducklings versus Bogo Caniacs. 2-1, 2-1. One of these teams will be 3-1 after week 4. You're looking to ride a 2-game winning streak here, turn it into a 3-game winning streak. The quarterbacks are interesting here. Jaden Daniels, the injury stuff around him has been really vague, really weird. He didn't practice last week, got held out of that game. Marcus Mariota looked good. They won. So you wonder if that kind of buys Daniels another week. They might hold him out again just because they're so much more concerned about keeping his long-term health the priority, and they don't want to risk rushing him back. If Daniels doesn't play, I think Josh will probably just go back to the Daniel Jones well. You'd probably much rather see Daniel Jones in his lineup than Jaden Daniels. Especially, I don't know, in that dome, Atlanta Dome, but shootouts can sometimes just happen there. I think Daniels could have a massive game. For you, you're just riding Caleb Williams. He's the number 2 quarterback in fantasy. He's playing the Raiders, who are dog shit. You're kind of hoping for another 3-touchdown, 25-plus point game in that one. I think even if Daniels plays, he's kind of gimpy. So I'm going to give you the advantage at quarterback, actually. Running back, you've got Jonathan, number 1 running back Taylor, off to a great start. Fake fan conundrum here for Colts Josh. He's got Derrick Henry, also a perennial stud. It's kind of been bad since week 1, honestly, for Henry's standards. He went 28 fantasy points in week 1, and then he went 2-10, and he's been fumbling. So I don't know. Y'all kind of clown me for passing on him for Ginty. Doesn't look so bad now, does it? Henry, he is kind of due for a good game, and he seems motivated coming off those game-losing fumbles at KC. It's one of those big games. They're going to lean on the run. I do like Henry to bounce back, maybe not to the 28-point week 1, but maybe somewhere around 17. I think the projection's about right there. And then he's got a Thursday night play, so you'll be on the couch. This is kind of a not a conundrum, but this could be kind of a revenge spot for Ken. You've been fading him everywhere. You traded him in Dynasty. You've been cursing his name. You basically crossed him off all your draft lists coming into the season. You've said he's bum, he's hurt. Well, tomorrow night he could shut you up with a big performance. He's coming off a 2-touchdown performance in week 3, taking on the Cardinals. You're pretty much hoping Charbonnet plays there because you want that to be like a 50-50 with Ken Walker potentially taking a back seat like he did in week 1. Cardinals run defense is mid. If Sharps doesn't play, I like Ken Walker to have a big game. If he does, I think it'll be maybe 10 points or so. Scattaboo, you're just throwing Scattaboo in the lineup after he shows you one thing in week 3. Last week he did have 8 targets, which I knew pass catching was a part of his game, but I didn't know he'd be like literally Christian McCaffrey. He's at home against the Chargers. Jackson Dart's first career start. You got to think they'll try to lean on the running game. So Scattaboo will probably get a decent amount of carries there. The question is just going to be, do they move the ball? Does he get red zone opportunities? Is Dart going to check down like Russ did, or is he going to scramble or chuck it deep to Neighbors when he's in trouble? I guess we'll find out. I don't hate the play. It just doesn't feel – it feels very volatile. Like I feel like that could go a couple of different ways. I guess the floor is somewhat high just because of the receiving work. But I think overall – I am going to give Josh the advantage at running back just because I feel like I know what I'm getting with Walker and Henry. They're liable to score touchdowns. JT's kind of due for a bad game too. At Rams, don't love that matchup for Indy. This could kind of be the week we see the Colts drop back down to earth. I don't think they're winning that one. Wide receiver, we've got A.J. Brown and Ladd McConkey for Josh, 2 of the guys he got in that 3-way trade, and then you are slapping Jamar Chase on the wrist, throwing him at flex. Receiver, you're going with Tyreek Hill. Finally showing some signs of life this year. 100 yards week 2, touchdown week 3. Still not showing the Tyreek Hill upside we're used to from previous seasons. And then DJ Moore. You actually are going to go with DJ Moore in the starting lineup. First week on your roster. Yeah, this is a tough spot for all these guys. You got Ladd and DJ. They've both been pretty disappointing. AJ, it's literally just going to come down to if the Eagles can run. If they can run, if they're winning, then they're not going to throw. If they're somehow trailing, I actually think the Eagles are going to be winning that game. I don't really like the situation for Tampa. They're down some offensive linemen. The Eagles' defense is really good. They're missing Mike Evans. I think we could see another bummy A.J. Brown game there. But I don't really like your wide receivers, and I think Ladd. This could be the week Ladd finally does something. So I'm gonna say Josh wins wide receiver. Tight end, we've got Fergie versus McBride. Fergie, the target monster. McBride scored a touchdown last week. Thursday night game. You got a couple of Thursday night guys to root against tomorrow night. So you'll be on the edge of your seat watching that Amazon Prime game. You got to go with McBride, just in a different tier than Fergie, but no Lamb trailing, Micah Parsons bearing down. I do like Fergie to get a ton of targets, just not sure he scores. Flexes, Zay Flowers and Chase Brown versus Jamar Chase and J.K. Dobbins. Pretty interesting. We've got a revenge spot here for Chase Brown taking on his former fantasy manager. Bengal versus Bengal. That game is on Monday night too. So we're going to find out a few things. We're going to find out if Jake Browning really is that bad. And we're going to find out if Jamar Chase can still be that 101 that you draft him to be. J.K. Dobbins, also in that Monday night game, barbecue chicken matchup, home against the Bengals. They just gave up like 25 fantasy points in that spot to Jordan Mason. I think you can count on at least 15 to 16 from Dobbins. And then Zay Flowers at flex for Josh at Kansas City. He's going double Raven. It feels like they kind of go one or the other, run heavy, pass heavy. I know week 1 there was that crazy Bills 40-point explosion, but that's like a once a season type of deal. So I think with that being in my mind more of a Henry game, I think Flowers maybe has his second disappointing outing in a row. Overall, I think this matchup is pretty even between the two of you. I think I like you at quarterback and flex. And then Jonathan Taylor's obviously he's been carrying. He's been your MVP. We'll see what Scattaboo does. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the BOGO Caniacs here. I just think I like what your guys are doing right now. JT, Caleb, Fergie. I think it will come down to those Bengals and J.K. Dobbins on Monday night. I think you guys, let's say Josh is up like 5 Chase Brown. Oh, he also has the Broncos D in that one. So it's gonna be fun. Monday night. I hope this one comes down to Monday night for the group text and everyone just watching. It'll be dramatic. I think Josh gets off to a solid start Thursday. Maybe Ken and Trey combined for like 25, something like that. Not a ton, but just enough to make you sweat going into red zone. And then it will come down to Monday night. And J.K. Dobbins will plunge into the end zone in the fourth quarter to give you the win. This is going to be a close one, but Bogo Caniacs gets the win 127 to 124.
Yeah, love that call from you. I'm going to go with myself. Yeah, I just don't think Josh's team really has this, but I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to play. He's going to be forced to go with another quarterback, and I think Caleb will have a big game at Vegas. So I like myself pretty easily. Okay, so final matchup of week 4 to preview is your matchup. And you are playing Andrew. White shirt versus Suck My Ditka here. Both 2-1 teams, so you'd really love to be 3-1, not 2-2, kind of falling back to the pack. So ESPN kind of has you as a heavy favorite here. I feel like you're probably feeling the pressure, kind of a can't lose versus a potential bye week here in Andrew. But let's dig into the matchups a little bit. Josh Allen versus the Saints. God, I know you're pretty terrified of that. And you have James Cook, so obviously this one, that's pretty big for y'all's matchup. Who do the Bills' touchdowns go to? You expect them to blow out the Saints, potentially score 30, 40 points, whatever they want. So does Josh Allen get the touchdowns? Does James Cook get the touchdowns? Is it 2-1, 2-2? How does that look? I'm going to say James Cook obviously gets at least one touchdown and has 100 yards. So I think James Cook will get his. It's really just about, does Josh Allen get 3-4 touchdowns on top of that? I think he'll probably get 3, but I don't really see like a 4-40 burger kind of thing. And then you've got Drake May home against Carolina. Drake May's been solid this year. QB9, kind of around where you drafted him. Home against Carolina, you definitely expect them to have success on offense, and May also runs the ball. So I think that's a pretty safe quarterback play. I don't know that he has much upside beyond, 20 points, but I think you can kind of take that to the bank there with Drake May. At running back as well, you also have Josh Jacobs. Questionable tag, not really sure what's going on there. Ankle limited, but he should be fine. At Dallas, that's about as barbecue chicken as a matchup gets. I know they have Kenny Clark stuffing the middle, but you just feel like the Packers are going to score a lot of points in that game. And Josh Jacobs should be at the center of that, rushing and touchdowns. So I think he gets back in the end zone this week. You'll be happy with Josh Jacobs. For Andrew, Bucky Irving, just really inefficient last week with the Buccaneers offensive line injuries, and then they're playing Philly and Jalen Carter. So I don't really love that matchup for Bucky. Tony Pollard has also been a bum, and they're at Houston. I feel like they're a really good defense. So I'm not loving the setup for Andrew's running backs there. At receiver, he's going with Jacoby Myers. I do think Jacoby could have a good game against the Bears. That could be like a mini shootout. And he's been solid this year. He is thrusting Jordan Addison straight into the lineup off the suspension. I don't really know how I feel about that. We've never seen Carson Wentz throw to Jordan Addison. First game off the suspension, I feel like you'd love to see something on your bench first, but with the CeeDee Lamb injury, I think he just feels like he has no other choice. You can't really play Trevion Henderson, even though you'd probably love to be able to, just because even after Ramondre and Gibson fumbled, you don't know if Henderson's going to get the volume. So he's benching Henderson, he's benching Bill, and he's just going to roll with Jordan Addison off the suspension. I don't really know if I love that decision, but yeah, I don't really agree with it. So we'll see if it pays off for Andrew. You're going with T-Mac and QJ, kind of riding the waves with QJ at the Giants, kind of hoping he just scores a touchdown again. He's been looking really good. T-Mac at New England. I think Christian Gonzalez could be back this week. And if he is, I do think T-Mac could be limited.
Oh, no. Anyways.
But either way, I mean, T-Mac's a stud. So I guess I prefer you at receiver, but honestly, I don't really love any of these receivers. At tight end, Jawan Johnson, I don't really love this. Maybe he's just hoping that the Saints throw a ton, and Jawan's kind of a volume merchant. You got Tyler Warren. He should bounce back at the Rams. I like that to be, the Colts will have to throw quite a bit in that game, I think. I like Warren there. At flex, this is definitely the put up or shut up week for Ashton Genty. Home against Chicago. They are a bad defense. You need Genty to come out and be what you drafted him to be. 20 burger, 2 touchdowns, 100 total yards. You need Ashton Genty this week, and he's going to give it to you. And then Jalen Warren has been a volume monster. He's the RB17. Kind of a tough matchup, but he's just one of those steady guys that will volume his way to at least 12, 13 points. And then for Andrew, he's going with Devontae Smith and Jawan Jennings at Tampa Bay, home against Jacksonville. Jennings has just kind of been in and out of the lineup with injury, and the Jacksonville secondary is not great. I guess if him and Purdy are both back, I actually kind of like that play, but just a little bit of uncertainty with the injuries. And then Devontae Smith, you never really know what the Eagles are going to do. So definitely think you outclass Andrew pretty easily here at flex. It's not really even a question. Yeah, I don't know. This one, I don't really know why I spent so much time on this one. You're going to blow Andrew up pretty easily here. You overpower him so much at running back and flex that the rest of the positions don't really matter. He basically needs Josh Allen to have like a 5 touchdown game and James Cook to, roll his ankle and Ray Davis goes, and I don't know. He needs something crazy like that to happen to have a chance here. I'm going to go with white shirt pretty easily on this bye week with CeeDee Lamb out, 130 to 102.
Yeah, I like myself to bounce back here, improve to 3-1. My team didn't score any touchdowns last week, but I think we kind of see some positive regression on that front this week. I think let's go down the list. I'm going to say 3 from May, 2 from Jacobs, 1 from Cook. I'll get 1 from T-Mac, 1 from Warren, his first career touchdown this week. Genty, give me 2, and give me a pick 6 on Carson Wentz. So I'm gonna say my team puts up like 7-8 touchdowns, and I think this is the week. This is Ashton Genty goes. This is gonna be the barrage. What did Max score last week? I'm topping that shit. He had 161. I'm gonna say I win 164 to 118. I'm feeling really good about my team this week. So, all right, this has been your Showtime podcast, Week 3 review, Week 4 preview. We'll be back at you guys next week to break down all of what happened in Week 4. Shout out to Cannon in the chat, glazing himself for picking up Hunter Henry tight end 1. And shout out to all you listeners for tuning in every week. But thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, there's a lot of things a man can do with his time, but this is better than those things.